2 minutes, is that?
Or nod to me and I'll say.
Remember, you're repeating any questions from
Yeah.
the audience.
Have I got anywhere to stand? I don't really know. When they're doing their speeches, I'll just stand over here or come and sit down. Do you think?
Stand to the side.
Could I have a chair? I'm going to have a chair. Yeah, is there an order? There isn't there. Is it the order they're sat in? Is it the order that they're sat in? So Chloe Baker first.
Going all the way along.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all right because there's a few of you. I'll hold the iPad to make it look a bit more profesh. No, that's annoying. I'm not going to hold that. I'm a bit nervous. Okay. Shall we start? Okay, good morning ladies and gentlemen and welcome to the Worcester Students' Union 2016 election hustings. I'm Wesley Hudson, your current Student Union President and today's host. A special hello to all our viewers that are watching at home via the live stream. Hi Mum. Wherever you're watching from, you can tweet questions to the candidates using the hashtag WSUelections. I'll be checking the iPad during the speeches and then ask some of the questions later. Please, nothing inappropriate or too inappropriate. I'll quickly run through how this morning is going to work and then we'll get the ball rolling. First of all, we'll have speeches by and then questions to the candidates for Vice President of Education, followed by candidates for President and then the candidates for Vice President of Student Activities. Please, could you all turn your mobile phones on silent and try not to talk while other people are talking. Candidates, I'm going to call you up one at a time and you have a maximum of 2 minutes to finish your heartwarming, shocking or inspirational speeches. If you go over your time, you'll be stopped and then thrown into a pit of lions. Just kidding. The risk assessment would be a nightmare. But you will be asked to stop. So we'll get going. First up, we have the 6 candidates for the role of Vice President Education. Do you want to just go along the line and say your names for people at home?
Hi, I'm Chloe Baker.
Hi, I'm Debbie Doyle.
I'm James Goodber.
Hi, I'm Katie Knight.
Hi, I'm Fran Story.
Alex Woods.
So we'll have the first candidate, please, which is Chloe Baker. So we'll start the timer as soon as you start talking. And please, no heckling from the audience.
Hi, I'm Chloe Baker, a geopsychology student. You may recognise me from working in the Students' Union shop. I've also been on the committee of Ultimate Frisbee for 2 years and currently am chairman of Ultimate Frisbee. With the help of the committee, I feel like we've broadened the diversity and inclusivity in our club, which I really like to reflect amongst the stars. I feel like we've made a more inclusive society, not just amongst ourselves, but as our reputation across the university as a whole. And I feel like at the moment potential stars are overlooked and it's always the same ones that get elected, so I'd really like to change that and give other students the opportunity. Because it not only looks good on your CV, but it also provides you with a great reference for your lecturers because they slowly start to get to know you better. I also want to increase student working space. With such a massive influx of students, I feel like sometimes there isn't the space to work. So unused classrooms can then be used for student space, so people can just go along any time of the day, bring their laptops and make the most of their student fees. I also want to also increase high demand of textbooks at the Hive. Sometimes, especially with set texts, they're so expensive. And with paying £9 a year, I feel as though they should be more available and for a longer period of time. So I'd also like to reduce, so you don't bring your book back in time, also reduce the rate that you have to pay. But I'm really looking forward to this debate as it's a platform as my passion to be Vice President of Education. And I want to fight to get you the value for money you deserve from your education. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chloe. Next we have Debbie. Your time starts now.
Okay. I'm sitting before you as a candidate for VP of Education. In the position, I assure that I will work hard on your behalf. I've logged over 900 hours so far volunteering for the SU since July of last year, and that's how committed I am to the roles that I've taken on. I will listen to your ideas and do everything in my power to make the university the best that it can be for you and for future students. My roles as STAR and Institute Rep over the last 3 years have given me an overall understanding of the challenges that we as students face on a daily basis in our institute and university. In my role as mature student officer, I've seen these challenges across the whole university, and also as partner colleges and working on these challenges with students is making a difference for them. The background and commitment I have to you as students makes me the ideal candidate for Vice President of Education. I'm not only your candidate, but I will be your friend, and like a good friend, I will promise you that I will be honest with you about the challenges that we face. I will do my best to communicate with you and keep you informed of everything that's going on with the Student Union, the university and its partner colleges that affects students. As your friend, I will also be asking for your help. No one person has all of the answers or can do all of the work, and working with everyone within the SU and the university staff and students alike, we will succeed with these challenges. A chain is only strong as its weakest link, so together we must be strong and cooperate to achieve our goals. Some of my other ideas for the coming year will be to work on childcare within the university during school holidays when students are still required in university, and to work on a wider range of module choices for these institutes that need them. All I ask of you is that you believe in me to get the job done. I will not let you down. I am asking today for your vote. I believe I have the qualities to be an effective leader, so please begin the journey of making this university the best that we can be for you today. My name is Debbie Doyle, and I want to be your Vice President of Education. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Now, James. The time starts now.
Hello everyone, my name is James Gunther, currently studying Sport and Exercise Science in my 3rd year, and I'm campaigning to become your next Vice President of Education. I feel my last 3 years of life at uni have provided me with the essential skills to become a successful Vice President and provide you, the student, with the best experience possible. Performing well within a full-time officer position, I feel is fundamental in running and improving the Students' Union. Obviously, the Students' Union being an independent charity, the constant maintenance of the relationship between the university and the Students' Union is key, providing the foundation of which students build their academic experience, which is obviously a key part of the role. Individuals do not wish to spend 3 or more years of their lives in a university where they do not enjoy their education. At the end of the day, the most important people at the university are you, the student. So both developing you as a person and the experience in which is provided, I feel, is essential in you gaining the maximum amount from your time at Worcester University. My philosophy for the role of VP is simple. I've chosen simple and effective goals that I feel will be achievable under my period in office. The inclusivity of every student is key in this. Making sure every student from all types of diversity is heard will allow the best decisions to be made, and these diverse decisions will allow a better general consensus to be maintained throughout the institution. The role of VP is essentially academically driven and focuses on individuals' academic experience. So if elected, I believe that I can make significant contributions to every student's academic experience through representing them, giving them strong advice and support, which will allow them to get the most out of their degree. This coinciding with an approachable nature and an ability to make things happen, I feel makes me a strong candidate for the positions. But if you have any questions or queries regarding my manifesto or anything to do with the current campaign, please feel free to get in contact with me at any point. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Katie, your time starts now.
Hi, I'm Katie and I'm going to be your next Vice President of Education. My main aims, if I'm elected into the position, are based on my own time at the university, the ups and the downs, which, face it, we all have them. I'd like to offer more support to those of you who are expected to find work placements for your courses or simply want to gain more experience by creating partnerships with local businesses creating partnerships with local businesses and giving you more opportunities to apply for work experience. To improve the university's resources, even simple things like the availability of plug sockets in lecture theatres, which sounds silly, but it's really like something that helps your experience. To put more of an emphasis on mental health and offer further support and guidance to students who are finding themselves struggling. Mental illness among students is incredibly high. statistics from the 2015 NUS survey show that 78% of students have struggled during their time, and 54% of these didn't seek support. So obviously we want to know why, and we want to help people. And to make sure each and every student is aware of all of the opportunities that are available to them during their time at university, by making sure all the information is accessible and students know where to look, and to support people who do want to do more within their course. I'm currently chair of the partnership panel for my course, which is psychology. I'm a star, I'm an institute rep, all of which have given me brilliant leadership skills, communication skills and negotiation skills, all of which I feel would make me a good candidate for VP.
Thank you. Fran, your time starts now.
Hi, I'm Fran Story. I'm not going to regurgitate my manifesto because I would like to hope that you've all read it, or that you're going to read it when you leave here. We're living in an environment where the government is changing all funding for education, and in almost every avenue this is going to affect every student in one way or another, because we've got changes going on with student finance, disabled support allowance, and the NHS funding for nurses and people who want to train in that field. I believe that as we are the client of the university, then the university needs to be doing something to help us, because at the end of the day they're providing the service, so that if we were having a problem with any of the service that we access, for instance home energy, mobile phones, we would be making complaints. And at the moment the university just likes to regurgitate to newspapers or the students all the things that they are doing correctly. But as my role as part-time officer, I have realised that there's a lot of things that are going on under the radar that needs improving for every student. And I believe that by working together we can help the university see where the need for improvement is, so that we all are entitled to this really good service from the university, instead of struggling along or questioning our financial commitment to our education. Because at the end of the day, we've all paid to be here and we all deserve a number one experience. So I would like to ask you to vote for me as VP for Education. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Alex, your time starts now.
So firstly, why do I, Alex Woods, want to be your next Vice President of Education? Well, having been a staff the last 3 years, I've found a few issues within the university and within the courses and within the SU. And 3 of those biggest things have been support, awareness and development of learning. And so the biggest issues I want to hit this, next year if I was elected, would be the assessment policy and making sure lecturers are adhering to the assessment policy. One quote which I've got, which is promote learning, enable students to improve performance in subsequent assessments. So developing from one assessment to the next over the time of 3 years. And for every lecturer you get that does that, is another one that's not quite hitting that same policy. So that's what one of my aims would be there. Next way is stars. Obviously every course has reps, every stars obviously then will feed back to the VPE. And I think a two-way communication between the VPE and the stars, getting that feedback going both ways between the courses and between the SU, is another big point. Another big point of mine is students on placement. So 2 of our biggest institutes are the Institute of Education and Health and Society, both very placement-based courses and institutes. How much support is there available for those students? Where is the support? How easily can they find the support? What support do they need? That's one of the two of the questions, or 3, 4 of the questions that I think the university needs to answer. So that's why I want you to be your next Vice President of Education.
Thank you, Alex. So, you've heard what our candidates have got to say. It's now your turn. If you've got any questions, please raise your hand and I'll ask you. I'll read some from our Twitter feed as well. Candidates, you don't have to answer the question, but if you do, please raise your hand and I'll point to you and say your name and then you answer first. So, studio audience, are there any burning questions that you have to ask for our Vice President of Education candidates? No. In that case, I will go to the Twitter feed, and we have a tweet from University of Worcester Psychology Society. Vice President of Education candidates, how do you plan to make personal academic tutoring uniform over all institute and courses? I'll read that again. Vice President of Education candidates, how do you plan to make personal academic tutoring uniform over all institutes and courses? Chloe, then Fran.
I'm currently on the psychology course, and we get a monthly reminder to go and see our academic tutor, and so you get a designated academic tutor which carries on for 3 years. They really get to know you throughout that time. In that time, they tell you your targets, they tell you what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, your personal development, and I think that should be maintained throughout other courses. I must admit, I don't know if that is the same for other courses. It might be, it might not, but for smaller courses such as art, computing, that kind of thing, I really think that should be developed, that every month you should get a reminder email to go and see your academic tutor and just see what progress you're making in the year.
Thank you, Chloe. Fran.
In the Institute of Science and Environment, there is a mandatory requirement on your course that you attend 2 sessions with your personal tutor, and if you don't do them, then you're penalised. And I think that this is something that can be rolled across all of the institute because it's actually working effectively in our institute. But most of our lecturers also have open door policies, so that if they're in their office and the door is open, then you can ask them any question without having to make an appointment, and that actually benefits the student because it could be a burning question at that moment and they don't want to wait till a tutorial. But I think that all the heads of institute will need to be brought together so that this implementation can occur, and it's the heads who have to start rolling it out, and then make sure that the lecturers are adhering to it.
James.
I think it's like important to note that, like, from a personal perspective, my academic tutorial sort of system has sort of fell through. I haven't really, over my past 3 years, had that much contact from my academic or personal tutor. It's not just a measure of your academic progression; it's a measure of your personal progression as well. So, from the basis of, it's not just seeing how you're doing in your degree; it's a measure of how you're developing as a person, how you're feeling towards things, what's going well, what's not going well. Like it's already been said by a few of the other candidates, it's really, really important to sort of measure it and have a constant measure. And if you're not seeing your tutor, then you're not sort of, is that person that you can see throughout the 3 years rather than changing lecturers throughout your modules and things. So I just think, again, it's just important to note that seeing your tutor is extremely beneficial, and if that can be pushed institute-wide rather than just in psychology or just in other modules and courses, that's what's going to progress students to the better level.
Chloe, then Katie.
I think as well, for academic tutorials and that kind of thing, it is 50-50. We can't fully expect lecturers for courses as big as psychology, where you've, say, got 200 students per year. It can't be expected sometimes for lecturers when they do their own research or they're doing their own thing. Most lecturers are part-time. So I think it does take that little bit of incentive to then approach your lecturer and just say, I need to be able to say what my advantages and disadvantages are for this year, how am I going to get that grade that I want. But I think, yeah, like I said, it is 50-50, and I think you do need to take that time and also email your lecturers as well, but obviously some courses may be a bit more disorganised than others.
Katie?
I just think it's really unfortunate that, as with a lot of things, such as the stars and things like that, people only tend to go to you for something negative. The same with the personal academic tutors. I'd like to see it advertised as more of like the progress things and personal development and something that is really beneficial in a positive way, rather than I need to complain about this, I'm not happy about this. That would be better in my eyes.
Okay, right, so I'll move on to our next question. Any from the student audience? Still none. Lewis?
Do you think the current student academic reps are effective?
Do you think the current student academic reps are effective? Alex, Debbie, then Fran.
I think yes and no. I think some reps will do a good job speaking to their courses, reporting back for meetings, reporting back to the VPE. I think some will do a good job. Some won't. That's the thing. And I think it's just trying to uniform that more across the board of having more effective stars feeding back 2 ways. Feeding back from their courses, feeding back to the VPE, and implementing things to actually change things. rather than just sort of being there as people and just sort of people to talk to. Sort of that feedback from both ways, coming down from the SU to the stars to the courses, and obviously vice versa, coming from the course to the stars to the VPE.
Debbie?
Yeah, they are effective. I mean, over the last 3 years, there's been a lot of changes in how STARS have interacted with both students and VPEs, and we still need to continue to build on that. If you interact, as institute reps, if you interact with your STARS a lot more and you actually ask them how they're going on, is there any help that they need, then obviously you do get a lot more response from them, a response from their cohorts. If institute reps actually go in with a brand new STARS and let them know that they are there to support them, then that's great. We need to build on perhaps a mentoring system, maybe where the second or third time STARS actually mentor a new one, so that they actually have somewhere where they can ask the questions of whether anything's relevant to them, or whether they are supposed to do that, or if not, where to signpost them to actually get that doing. But it does work, and I can honestly say that it's probably one of the best things that's happened in the Institute of Science and the Environment, because we have a lot of things that we've been able to address and we've been able to work out really quickly using the STAR system.
Fran?
I think that STARS are only as effective to the point that they are used, or that the STARS are actually interacting with the students that they're supposed to represent. They are elected by their group, but sometimes a group has no choice if only one person stands. So maybe we need to make it more appealing to more students to nominate themselves to become STARS, have a more in-depth training session, but also to maybe hold the STARS to account, because if they're not feeding back any information in the time that they're a STAR, what are they not doing? Do you know, every course runs into a problem, whether positive or negative. So this feedback should be going on. So it's a ball game. Do you know, some groups have really good STARS, some don't. They've only become a STAR to put it on their CV, which is okay, I suppose. But if a group has got a problem, they know that the person is being trained to represent them and that they're also being held accountable.
So we'll have James, then Chloe, and then we'll move on to the next question.
So obviously the sheer volume of STARS has increased sort of like drastically over the past sort of few years. So it's gone from a really small number to a really high volume of people. But I think initially it's about selecting the right people. You want the people who are going to want to make a difference and who are going to make a difference. And if they're initially not selected, then it's sort of you're already falling at the first hurdle. I think from then on it's training, it's consistent training, monitored throughout the year. Sort of like periodic training, making sure that they're up to date on everything they should know and need to know. And then I think one of my points I raised in my manifesto is linking to sort of regular periodic feedback, so whether that be every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, but make this sort of like mandatory, so the feedback from the STARS is mandatory. They must sort of turn up, they must give up the feedback from their sort of courses and their institution, and make this a consistent institution-wide thing. So there's feedback is monitored from every institute, and then every institute can be improved on, sort of know what's going well, what's not so well, and then improve the academic experience, which is ultimately the role of the Vice President of Education.
Chloe?
I think the main responsibility of an academic rep is to kind of bridge the gap between student STARS and sort of the Vice Chancellor and that kind of thing. I think they're good because it doesn't put as much pressure on the STARS, because I think if you're individually choosing yourself to be an academic rep, you know that the problems that students have, you're going to have to take higher up, and I think it's good that they take on that responsibility, because it alleviates the pressure from STARS, and they can focus on getting the feedback from the students, which can then be communicated effectively. I think having that bridge is really effective for bigger courses especially, including health and society.
Okay, any more questions? Lewis again?
I have a question tweeted in from Taylor Corns, one of our institute reps. What are the candidates' immediate steps for addressing their manifestos?
What are the candidates' immediate steps in addressing their manifestos? Don't all rush at once. James?
Initially it's about lobbying with the correct people, speaking to the correct people. So for instance, one of my points is to work on sort of a big point of my manifesto is try and work on the ability to produce online lecture capture. So every lecture is recorded, every point the lecturer makes is recorded rather than going back and just looking at a PowerPoint on Blackboard. Initially that would be sort of speaking to the lecturers, trying to lobby with the lecturers, see their opinions on the sort of how it would work, if they think it would work, and then from then on sort of speak to the relevant people, so sort of vice chancellors, and from there progress it down. It's important to note that it's not something that will necessarily change overnight. It's something that you work towards, and if elected VP, that's something I consistently work towards, sort of daily, really try and build on everything from step to step, and try and sort of provide a foundation to sort of represent you, the student.
Katie, Chloe, then Alex.
I think my first steps would be kind of getting a general consensus from the students, which is what this is all about really, about what they would like changing in regards to resources, in regards to, you know, issues they are having, like finding work placements and applying for jobs and things like that, because at the end of the day this is about what students want and need and what would help them develop.
Chloe?
The main thing I want to do if I was to get elected, in the first week I would carry out a student survey, because obviously when we get elected many students might have gone home, so during that freshers week and shortly after, obviously this would focus mainly on second and third years, I'd ask how many people use Pearson, and I'd also get in touch with the timetabling department and see what rooms are open, and also in the survey I'd go around maybe with an iPad or something just around the SU, around halls, asking people how long they would like to have their set text for at the Hive. Once getting that feedback, I'd hope to get between 200 to 500 students to fill that out if that was possible. I then talk to the Hive, see if there's anything we could do, have meetings with some institute reps, see if they can get any feedback through lectures. So yeah, those would be my first steps if I was to be elected.
Alex?
Again, similar to the other candidates there'll be some issues that you can sort of try and resolve or try and implement sort of straight away in office. There's other things that me as one student or one Vice President of Education, you're not going to know every issue of every student. So like Chloe said there, we'll be trying to find the issues of what students want, what students need, and implementing them over the course of a year, and trying to sort of find out what the majority of students' wants and needs are going to be, so you can be there to support them over the year.
Fran?
As VP Education, the changes that you can make can only be as limited as the resources. So I think that you need to go out and find more people that you can network with within the university to try and change the student experience. Come September, as I said, that the funding is all going to be changed, and at this point in time, even the university are not aware of what changes they're going to put in place. So it's going to be a learning curve for everyone come September. And I think that the thing that I would need to do would be to work more closely with the Vice Chancellors and people like that, and see what their plans are, how it's going to be implemented, and in the meantime, what impact will that have on the student experience? Because in my opinion, the impact from funding should not affect the student experience, and if it does, it should be very limited.